Democrats are going absolutely insane after losing the 2024 presidential election to Donald Trump. And in today's video, we are going to be watching just how crazy some of these Democrats are getting. Now, with no further ado, let's dive right in.
Australia, good morning from Washington.
Sky News, baby.
Have you heard the news?
In Alaska, what does that mean?
Domination.
The race to 270. Well, that is now over. Donald Trump wins the state of Alaska. And as a result, Donald Trump is once again going to be the president of the United States.
The Fox News
That technology
decision
shit is
desk
so
can now
cool, too.
officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Look, you don't have to like Fox, but the way that they present all of this is really aesthetically pleasing to me. I don't know why. But you just see the face and then the check mark, boom. 47th
The former
president.
president's comeback will be
Awesome.
complete with a win in Wisconsin.
How extraordinary. It is the greatest comeback in modern political history.
That's the
To
narrative.
find an example of it, you don't have one this century. You don't have
No.
one last century. You got to go back to the century before that,
Grover
when
Cleveland.
they had the 18 in front of the years that were being counted down.
Yeah.
Now, there are many images, many stories, many things to tell you about, many things that you've watched happen all the way through the day. And I've done my best to play that straight news bat because, as I said, all day long, you don't want to rub people's face in it. That's not cool.
No.
That's not okay. You've got to be a good winner because you've got to be paying attention to the people who are feeling the loss.
Of course.
But we've got to soak the moment in as well. This is an incredible moment in history. It is an incredible victory for people who had been ignored, who had been called garbage, who had been told
Garbage.
that their views were not in polite society any further. And they roared. And these were the same people who 4 years ago sacked Donald Trump. The same people in the same swing states who have now rehired Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And an evening of extraordinary images, a campaign of images.
Real news,
when I think
honest
we all
views.
felt exactly the same thing, July 15 Australian time.
Okay, where are the
That when
Democrats
bloke
at? Where are the
got
crazy
shot,
Democrats
his
at? Let's go.
reaction was not to crumble, but was to fight.
Here we go. Here we go.
This is a photo of the exact moment
Wait, no, this
Donald
is Trump and that's Dana White.
returned to the presidency. He's backstage, waiting to go on stage at his supporters in Florida. His son took the photo. as he's
Instagram
watching
Eric Trump.
on to the numbers being counted
Word.
and then the result being declared.
Yeah, everybody go follow Eric Trump, I guess.
To have that image before us, to have an image that is Donald Trump and is his candidacy. At times it can be ugly to read. At times it can be difficult to read.
All right,
At
we're
times
going to move
it
forward here.
You're going to see is a huge divide over people who are college educated and not college educated.
Yup.
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. Pure Project 2025 in miniature in Florida. And that kind of extreme, sort of extremist, right-wing, fascist type government in Florida, does that make it a more attractive place?
Thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite who are hurting tonight. There are African American women who know a little bit about being talked down to, who know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream
Former
a big
Obama
dream
administration
over the
official.
past couple of months. And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt.
It says who, right? We don't know what his presidency is going to look like. We do not know what the state of America will end up being over the next 4 years. And yet everybody on election night, or so many of them, they let the waterworks flow. They get all worked up. They go fucking bananas. Why? You have no idea what this man is going to do. Because even though he said, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, what if it works and it does make your life better? Even if it goes against your dogmatic ideology on how politics should be run and how the country should operate, what if your life does get better? All of a sudden, probably not so bad that he got elected. Secondly, if it goes terribly, well then you can say definitively that you were justified in your beliefs, but you don't have any of that yet.
may be true.
That's on both sides.
Certainly for African American women, the idea
Trump
that
promises
there
golden
was
age
on
for
the verge
America.
of a
Oh,
potential
yeah.
first female presidency and a first female president of color. I get it, okay?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is not about those people.
No.
But the reality is that in many ways, the people who they turn to for information have lied to them about the chances of what was happening in this election. The New York Times polls that we've talked about, day in and day out, when you actually dug into the detail, 80% of people had made their decision about what they were going to do in the American election months ago.
Yeah, well before.
So it didn't matter what happened with the comedian at Madison Square Garden.
No.
It didn't matter necessarily
No.
whether Trump had a good day on the trail.
The only thing that might have swayed people, and I'm saying might have, because I don't think so. I think these people are going to vote Trump anyways. But whenever you go on the Joe Rogan podcast and you get 61 million views across the Donald Trump episode and the J.D. Vance episode, perhaps you get some voters that you wouldn't have gotten. But even that, how much of an impact did it have? Who really knows? This was decided long before the ballots got cast. The 2024 presidential election was decided months ago. In fact, you could make the argument it was decided in 2023 or 2022. Everybody basically had their mind made up. They just got more convinced as time went on. Some people shifted, but I believe those people shifted because when you're looking at reality and reality continues to slap you in the face, eventually you just get tired of being slapped in the face. Perhaps that's why they shifted, because I don't believe this was about ideology. I don't believe this was about various identity groups, etc. I think this was a pure economic decision. I think a lot of people made their choice based on where their pocketbooks look like, how much money they have.
Or a bad day on the trail. They had made their choice. And they had made their choice because the government that they hired to replace Donald Trump did not deliver for them.
No.
They saw a man who, whether many people like it or not, was a man who had been tested over and over again, from courtroom to the media not even...
Well, that's the other thing about it, right? Because even if you don't like Donald Trump, even if you don't align with him politically or personally, it's very difficult to not be captivated and inspired by someone who is consistently painted to be the underdog, consistently made to be enemy number one, consistently made to look like this or that. It's very difficult to not root for that person over the course of time. You made him a martyr, and the psychology, particularly in America, is always going to be attuned to a martyr. It doesn't matter who that person is or for what cause. The Western psychology is always going to be tuned in, looking for a martyr. And they got their martyr.
Treating his candidacy as one that deserved to be listened to about what he was promising. Like every day, and I've been diving deep into this for months, every day he would make an announcement about, say, no tax on Social Security. Then you turn on the American news or you try to find things in the paper about it. No mention. Just a silly comment that was made by someone somewhere else because there's no possible way. He took to the stage and he got rid of the teleprompter. He was surrounded by his family, who he loves the most, and of course the supporters who built a coalition around him that I'm going to talk about a bit tonight, because when the left wins, they talk about how clever everyone was, and when the right wins, they think that there's some sort of, aberration or cheat or a mistake that's been made. Quite the opposite.
Or they're Neanderthals.
Some of the stuff
they can't think.
In the speech, just a little longer than you may well hear in other places.
Dana.
Here's an example of him.
Look at the smile on that man's face.
That coalition, the coalition that stretches from, say, a Robert F. Kennedy all the way through to the boss of the UFC.
This campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight, when you think.
And remember when he was shot and he was going to give his speech at the Republican National Convention? It was all about, has he changed? Well, yeah, he has. Because like every human being who goes through life, what happens to you changes you. And think about it. Millimeters from dying. The stakes of the election being, if he lost, he was going to go to prison for the rest of his life. the example of him as a slightly changed person because of those events was pretty obvious in this bit of his speech too.
Yeah.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission.
And one last thing about his speech, and I've been thinking about this for a little while. What does the word fight mean? Now, obviously, in its worst possible sense, it's about confrontation. But I think in terms of those that have seen Trump coming or have been pro-Trump or Trump literate even for the past 8 years, fight means standing up for what you believe in, leaning in on what you believe in, standing up for your friends. And in the case of somebody trying to run for national office, putting your own country first.
Well, that's the interesting point that I think we can leave this video off with, is that regardless of what you believe in, politically, spiritually, in terms of the religion that you follow, the creeds and codes that you live your life through on a day-to-day basis, I believe it's important to look at the results of people's actions, not the intentions. And though the intentions might be pure on the left in particular, when you look at the past 4 years, and particularly if you look at what has occurred over the last 12 years of Democratic leadership in the country, it's hard to make the case that they stand for family, that they stand for friendship, that they stand for love and unity, when the country has only gotten more divided with them at the helm. Let's push the policies to the side. Let's not worry about those. What are the results of the things that are being enacted? Are people becoming more loving towards one another? Are people uniting with each other? Are people showcasing manners? Are they displaying decency and good behavior in public? Over the 12 years of Democratic reign, that hasn't been the case. That hasn't happened. So even if this goes horribly wrong, I think everybody would rather vote for something that's at least promising a different result. Because you've seen 12 years, and those 12 years have been nothing but more division, less unity, more fighting, more screaming, more polarization, more lunacy on both sides. Both sides have gotten twisted, and they've both been manipulated and coerced by this dominating narrative. And that's what people showed up for in this election. In the 2024 presidential election, voters showed up to defend their right to love their family members, their friends, and the people in their community. They showed up to give themselves a shot at healing the wounds, at having safer places to live. And even if the economy doesn't fix itself overnight, even if jobs don't come roaring back, even if manufacturing doesn't pop, even if oil isn't getting drilled at the rate that we're promising, drill, baby, drill, that won't matter to people, because over the course of history, human beings have been able to suffer through poverty so long as they have good relationships with their family, their friends, and their townsfolk. Right now, they have neither. People in America are both poor and miserable. You can deal with one, but you can't deal with both. And even if Trump doesn't deliver on the economic side, if he can unify the people to a better degree than the Democrats have, than the left has, and make them feel more hopeful, make them treat each other better, that is a net positive that is worth voting for this side. So with that being said, I'm kind of disappointed that there wasn't more craziness from the left here in terms of their reaction. It was mostly talking about Trump. But yeah, we're going to keep following this because I'm intrigued to see how the left continues to react to this. Though I am surprised because, honestly, there are some people coming out that are just going off the deep end because of this loss. But by and large, it's been pretty quiet. We haven't heard a lot of ridiculousness, a lot of bad behavior, a lot of dumb antics. And that's a good thing, because if that can be the precedent moving forward, regardless of what the policies are, that is what is important. You can keep a country stable. You can keep a populace unified so long as you have etiquette and you have rules of conduct that are followed. And I am surprisingly hopeful, and I am surprised that I am that hopeful based on what's happened. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. Subscribe if you like this video or this type of content, and I'll see you in the next one.